Today's podcast is brought to you by the Herzog Foundation. Today, we're bringing our Texas moms a special podcast about Senate Bill 13. Now, this bill is about protecting our children from sexually explicit material in school libraries. Stay with us. This is the Moms for America podcast. Each week, leaders and everyday champions tell personal stories, share advice, and tackle the issues most important to moms. Hi, moms. I'm Debbie Corlitis, your host, and welcome to the Moms for America podcast. Again, this is a special podcast just for you Texas mamas. Every episode, right? And this one is particularly curtailed just to you, to help you, encourage you, and inspire you, and educate you on something that is happening right in your own state. So this is a special. Let me tell you about this. So today we are bringing you a special interview with Texas State Senator Angela Paxton. She needs your help to call your state senators to support Senate Bill 13, which is her bill. Now, this bill keeps sexually explicit material out of school libraries. We've heard about this all across the country. She's fighting it in Texas with legislation. No more pornographic material on our school, in our schools, and on our bookshelves. No more. Senator Paxton herself is a former educator with decades of experience in education. She's a mom to 4, grandmother to 5, and she is passionate about helping and protecting our children. Listen to this. Well, welcome, Senator Paxton, to the Moms for America podcast. This interview here, we've got a great bill on the floor that's going to be coming up. You're always a champion for mothers. You're always out there fighting. Thank you again for being a hero.
Well, thank you, Debbie. Thanks for having me on the podcast. I remember the first time I went to a Moms for America event. I just happened to be in the neighborhood and got invited to a Moms for America event. Heard Kimberly Fletcher, of course. And I remember as I sat there, I'm looking at this logo, Moms for America, and I'm like going, I'm a mom for America. This is
yes, you are.
People. So anyway, it's great to be on the podcast.
Oh, well, thank you. We can't say enough about you, and we just so appreciate you always being such a great champion there. So, boy, so much to fight for in our culture. I mean, your family, tell us about your little tribe out there.
Well, I'm a mom of 4. I have
4. I couldn't remember how many it was. It's 4. Okay.
I have 4 kids. They're all grown now. I have a son who's 32, and then I have 3 daughters one's about to turn 30. As long as I don't say their name with it, then it's like, okay, then they can't get mad at me.
Can't get mad, right?
But I have a daughter who's 30, a daughter who's 28, a daughter who's 26. And all 3 of my daughters are married. One of them has a 4-year-old, a 2.5-year-old, and 5-month-old twins. One of them has a 2-year-old, and the youngest daughter just told us on Valentine's Day that they're expecting a boy in August. So that'll be 6 babies.
Oh my goodness! So you guys are busy.
It's true. It's super busy, but it's the best kind of busy in the world.
That's what I heard. I heard being a grandma is the best thing ever. So
you bet it is.
Congratulations to everyone over there and your husband as well. All right, let's talk a little bit about this bill. This is something that's been happening, unfortunately, all across the country, and we've got to get a handle on this because we cannot have sexualized material in libraries for children just to take out whenever they want and bring it home and keep it in their backpack and read it in their bedrooms. And all of these problems are happening with libraries. How did this come about for you then to champion legislation?
Well, I don't know if your viewers and listeners know this or not, Debbie, but before I was a senator, I was a teacher and a school counselor. And we homeschooled our kids, we public schooled our kids, and we did private Christian school with our kids at different times, kind of depending on what was best for our family, for our children. And so I was a high school math and physics teacher and a school counselor. So I was in school settings all the time. I had the opportunity and the blessing of being in, the environment my kids went to school in. So I knew what was going on. I knew exactly what was going on.
Clearly, right. Yeah.
Right. And that's really important for parents. When I came into the Senate, of course, I was honored to be appointed to the Education Committee. And so I've worked on these issues since my time in the Senate. I've been in the Senate for 7 years now. So it was about 3 years ago that 3, 4 years ago that really in Texas, we were starting to hear a lot of noise about these books in school libraries that were sexually explicit, pornography in school libraries. That's what I was hearing.
Literally pornography. Yeah.
I remember hearing that and just kind of thinking, surely not, right? I mean,
Right. That can't be happening.
That can't be happening. It's not that long ago that I was in classrooms and in a school setting professionally myself, right? And so, I heard it and I thought, it's probably being kind of overblown. I got a call, interestingly enough, on the same day by two different moms who live in my district, their constituents. This again was about 3 years ago. In two different, they were in two different school districts in my Senate district, which is just north of Dallas in Texas. So both of these moms called and said separately, and it wasn't a coordinated effort. Have you heard about these pornographic books in school libraries? And I said, I have. And I said, let me ask you a question. Have you seen actual examples of this?
Right? Have you taken them off the shelf? Have you seen it?
You've seen these, or is it just something that you've heard about, right? And that happens a lot, right? People just kind of start talking about something. And both of these mothers said, you bet I do, and I can bring them. And so I met with these two moms separately on the same day. Both of them brought stacks of books
from their library,
from their school, in public school library right there in the district, middle school, elementary, high school. And they had flagged pages for me. And these books were literally from it. Like you open it up and it's like property of, whatever ISD.
Sure.
So I start looking at these things, and some of the books were novels. And I mean, at the time, I guess I was 58 years old, and I'm like reading this stuff, and I'm like, I don't know what to. I can't unthink that, right?
Right. Oh yeah. Right.
Some of these,
and these could be for first graders, kindergarten.
It could be for
this could be for 12-year-olds. It's amazing the variety of these books and the sexual content.
Yes,
and topics.
It was incredibly graphic, but it was like, just imagine maybe the most graphic sex scene you've ever watched in a movie, and it's written out with what everybody's thinking and they're teenagers or whatever.
Right.
And so some of these books were actually graphic novels, meaning sort of like a comic book, if you want to think about it that way. But
I've seen these.
Pictures. And I'm just going to say most of the anime genre don't portray women in a way that I find honoring to start with.
Good point.
And I'm going to be pretty graphic here. This particular book, these women had been stripped. They were being raped, gang raped, tortured, killed. And I can't unsee this. And I'm thinking, I'm an adult. Why is this in a school library? And so I called both of these superintendents the same afternoon. I got two really different responses. One of them said, we are aware of this, and we're hearing about it too. We're working on trying to figure out a way so we can centralize procurement so that these things aren't being made, these decisions aren't being made differently on different campuses. So I appreciated that. I called another superintendent for the other, the other mother had come to talk about it being in that district. And this superintendent said, oh, it's those parents.
Oh boy. And yeah, it is those parents.
And I thought, okay, these are the people you work for, right? These are the people you represent and I represent. And I think when you start by saying those parents, right? Like if I said, oh, those constituents, something's really, really wrong.
Yeah.
And so, I think this is part of the problem now, is that as I've looked across the state of Texas and heard from lots and lots of families and parents, school board members, etc. What I see are on this issue particularly are two kinds of school districts. I see the ones that have responsive school boards, and
Hmm.
I see the ones that do not have responsive school boards. If we had school boards that were being responsive to parents, we would not be dealing with this issue at the state level.
Correct.
Good.
Right. This really is a school board issue,
It is.
right?
It is.
This is their board, their leadership, the library. Everyone should be protecting our children on the local level at their library. This shouldn't be, going up the chain. It's almost like it's craziness that we have to talk about this at the state capitol.
Well, it really is. And, this should be being
Yeah,
handled appropriately at the local school board level where these people are
and
elected.
it's not. Yeah.
I put this in a certain category of bills that I call "Don't Make Me Come Down There." So anyway, we've come down there though, on this to
Good.
protect our kids.
Thank God. So you looked at all the information, and I'm sure the more you investigated, the more you heard, and then you had to do something, and so you drafted a Senate bill. Tell us about that. Had there been other legislation like this, or was this first of its kind?
This was the first time we had addressed this issue in the Texas legislature. Now,
Okay.
there were two bills that really went through addressing this. One was a House bill called the Reader Act, and the Reader Act was built to hold vendors accountable. It created kind of a
Okay.
rating system, kind of like movies, right? So, and certain kinds of ratings could not be purchased by school districts and that sort of thing. My bill, Senate Bill 13, which we actually passed in the Senate last session 2 years ago with great support, was built a little differently. It was designed to create processes and requirements at the local school district level to
Okay.
make school boards accountable, to create processes for what kinds of things could be on the shelves. Specifically, though, it prohibits sexually explicit material, which is
Okay.
defined in Texas law as harmful material. That's the
Good.
definition of pornography, and all of this is the same kind of material.
Okay.
So we did this. The other piece of it that was very important was that we required that you had to approve material before you purchased it.
Oh, okay. And this was key, right?
There's an idea, right?
Yeah.
There's an idea. It's like I need to make,
Instead of getting it in and then trying to get it taken out, which we know is
yes,
a lot because that causes all the havoc. And then people are
absolutely.
like, you're censoring, you're book banning, all this stupid stuff to
Absolutely.
come up
And,
with.
and we
So, yeah.
realize that some of these very large school districts, I mean, there are already books on the shelf. So the other thing we have to do on the front end of this process,
Hmm.
you have to create a system, a process so that books that are already on the shelves are reviewed.
Sure.
We created a process that includes great parent input, community member input, so that there are minimum standards that have to be addressed, but it also will reflect the values of the local community as well.
Okay. So now this bill has advanced. Is it just came out of committee? Is that correct?
That's right. We heard it in committee.
Okay.
This bill, Senate Bill 13, the numbering system is significant in the Texas Senate. 13 is what we call a low bill number, and that means that the lieutenant governor identified it as a high priority bill. And
Oh,
so
okay.
that's a great thing. It means that we were able to hear it very quickly. It was prioritized as one of the first bills that we've heard. We passed it through committee actually yesterday, and
Nice.
passed it on committee
Congratulations.
9-1. And
Hmm.
so the next thing that will happen is we will hear it on the Senate floor. And that's where I would love to have some help and encouragement from Moms for America.
Oh, well, our mamas, they love to, especially our Texas mamas. Are you kidding me? They would love to be a part of a rally call that asks and pushes and requests that this Senate bill gets approved. So that's what you're looking for our mamas to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. I feel really confident about the support that we have for this bill. But
Good.
I will tell you, as a legislator, one of the things I've noticed, and I also noticed this even when I was in college. I had a summer job working customer service at a bank, and one of the things I noticed is that the people that came to customer service, they never had really anything nice to say, right?
Yeah.
They only came because they had a problem. It was kind of like that when I was a school counselor as well, right? People don't come
Right.
because everything's great. Usually when things are fine, we're like, oh, that's fine. It's going to be just fine. It's when we're concerned about something or something is wrong that we kind of speak up. But I want you to know that it matters to the legislators who are doing the right thing to not
Sure.
just go, I got an absence of good calls. I think that means there's a lot of people that like this. It really means a lot when you can call your House
Good
rep,
point.
your senator, and
Right.
say, please support this bill. Thank you for supporting this bill, like before it happens and after. So I would love to encourage Moms for America, these Texas moms, to call your state senator, and we're going to let you know when it's time, Debbie, because we
Okay.
haven't set it for a vote quite yet, but we're going to let you know when it's time. And they can call their senator and encourage them to support Senate Bill 13 to remove sexually explicit material from our public school libraries.
What a concept. Thank you for championing this. I mean, here's the other thing too. You do legislation like this in Texas that can become model legislation in other states and so
Yeah,
on and so forth, correct? I mean, this is what we do. This is we're going to take it back one state at a time, one home at a time.
absolutely. And I appreciate you noticing that. I think it's something, that we're proud of in Texas, that we can make a difference in our own schools, in our own
Yeah.
communities, in our own state. But you know, we actually passed a bill last session requiring age verification for on access to online pornography sites. And that was, I carried that bill in the Senate. That went all the way to the US Supreme Court because the pornography companies all got together and created an organization called the Free Speech Coalition.
Oh, sure.
There you go. And so it went to the Supreme Court. It was heard on January 15th. I felt really good. I was able to listen in on the arguments. Of course, my husband was there defending the bill. I
Mhm.
got to hear the
By
argument.
the way, let everybody know who your husband is. I didn't say that in the beginning.
My husband is Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. And so some of your folks may be familiar with him. So when Ken and I met
This
at
is a
Baylor,
power couple, okay? That's all I can say. Power
I
couple.
don't know about that, but what I like to say is when I first met Ken, he was just a student body president at Baylor University, and now he's the Attorney General of Texas. So I think I did a good job.
And vice versa. Well, this is great. So he was defending it. So you had this other bill. I mean,
Yes.
look at that. That was a great bill
Well,
too.
it was
And did it make it?
so we're still waiting to hear how the Supreme Court rules on
Okay.
it. But the reason I bring it up, Debbie, is what you said earlier about when we do something in Texas. So this bill, I feel pretty good about how its outcome is going to be. But what this will do, because Texas is going to be successful in this, I think, it will run blocker for the other states to pass this same sort of
Hmm.
legislation. And many other states don't have the sort of resources that our Attorney General's office has in Texas. It's like 4,200 employees or whatever. He's got 800 lawyers, and they work really hard. They're really talented. So it matters for us
Okay.
matters for us to be a good steward of our opportunities in Texas. And it can not only help the Texas kids and families, but also folks in other states.
Well, thank you for what you're doing. And yes, we will get this out to our moms in Texas. We will ask them to champion this bill at the Senate, and then we'll move it over to the House. We'll fight it. We'll fight for it there. And hopefully in Texas, we get all of our pornographic material out of the hands of children in a library that is supposed to be safe in their school. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, and we'll be in touch, Debbie, to keep you posted on the progress of the bill, because as I mentioned before, we passed this bill last session successfully in the Texas Senate, but in the Texas House, it never got a committee hearing.
Mm.
So we've fought
That's
some
it.
other battles in the Texas House. Now, the composition of the House members has changed quite a bit, and I'm encouraged by that.
Good.
But we will really need everybody to rally again to get this bill heard in committee in the House, to get passed out of committee, and then to pass successfully on the House floor in Texas.
All right. Well, we're with you.
Thank
Thank you for being a fighter. As always, we so appreciate you. You're one of our mamas, and we can't say thank you enough. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Debbie. I appreciate y'all. And thanks to all the Moms for America.
All right, moms, you heard it all from the senator. Please email and call our Texas state senators. Ask them to vote in favor of Senate Bill 13. We need this bill right through the Senate over to the House. We need bills like this all across the country. We talked about this maybe becoming some model legislation throughout our country. We've got to be protecting our children on all levels. And yes, it's going to start again in our schools, in our libraries, protecting our kids from pornographic material. So go ahead and you can follow the senator on all her social media platforms at Angela Paxton, Texas, TX, to stay updated on this topic. So again, please call and share this with your Texas moms. For all the moms that are joining us today, I hope that you are a part of our family here at Moms for America. We have amazing programs, resources to help support you on your journey through motherhood. How do you find out about Moms for America? You go to momsforamerica.us, sign up for our newsletter. All the information is there to help you on your journey through motherhood. We say this all the time, from parental rights to public policy. Today's a perfect example of that. Having the senator on to talk about fighting pornography in the libraries, protecting our children. Moms for America, we have it all. So please check us out. We're delighted to help support you. We call ourselves the ultimate support group. So that's what we are, Moms for America. And as always, moms, let's keep changing our country one home at a time. To our Texas moms, we love you and we appreciate you, and go get them. Call the Senate and let them know that you want Senate Bill 13 passed. Thanks. A special thank you to our sponsors, the Herzog Foundation and Tuvu. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Herzog Foundation.